Hello everyone and welcome to this presentation, The Christmas Story in Greek and Latin from the Gospel according to Luke. My name is Christopher Ehlers. This presentation translates and compares the Greek and Latin versions of the fourth verse of the second chapter of Luke. The fourth verse gives us a panoply of prepositional phrases for practice, a total of 6 in Greek and 5 in Latin. The English translation runs as follows. And so Joseph went up from Galilee, from the city of Nazareth, into Judea, into the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was from the house and family of David. For simplicity, we should break this verse into 3 lines. First, Joseph went from someplace. Second, Joseph went to someplace. And third, there is a reason why he did this. With respect to the first line, we are told, and so Joseph went up. In Greek, this is anebe de kai Yosef, and in Latin, this is ascendit autem et Joseph. We can see that the Greek and Latin versions of the name Joseph are similar, but the Greek accent is on the last syllable, Yosef, while the Latin accent is on the next last syllable, Joseph. The new Greek word de is a particle, a word in Greek that functions to highlight a transition from one sentence or clause to another. Here it can be translated as so or indeed. This gives us and so for de kai, which is roughly equivalent to the Latin autem et. Autem is a Latin conjunction that can be generally translated as and, also, or but, depending on the context. The Greek verb anebe, meaning he went up, is a third-person singular aorist form, that is, a past tense, derived from the present verb anabaino, meaning I go up. The equivalent Latin verb ascendit is a third-person singular perfect form, again a past tense, derived from the present verb ascendo, also meaning I go up. The Latin verb gives us the words ascend and ascension in English. In the first line, there are 2 prepositional phrases that modify the statement that Joseph went up. First, the Greek uses the new preposition apa, meaning from, plus the word Galilee in the genitive case, to denote movement from Galilee. This gives us the prepositional phrase apa tes Galileas. The genitive form Galileas is derived from the feminine nominative Galileia, and the feminine definite article in the genitive case, tes, precedes the place name. The preposition apa reminds us of the English word apogee, the point in the moon's orbit farthest from the earth. In contrast to the Greek use of the genitive case, Latin uses a new preposition ab, meaning from, plus the ablative case. This gives us a Galileia. Here the preposition ab, spelled ab, is shortened to the single letter a before a word beginning with a consonant. Second, to denote movement out of Nazareth, Greek supplies us with another preposition, ek, meaning out of, plus the word for the place of origin in the genitive case. This gives us the prepositional phrase, ek poleos Nazareth. Poleos is a genitive form of the word for city, polis, which we saw in the third verse. In contrast, Latin uses the preposition de, meaning out of in this context, with the word for the place of origin in the ablative case. This gives us the prepositional phrase, de civitate Nazareth. Civitate is the ablative form of the word for city, civitas, which we saw in the third verse. In both languages, note that the word for city is inflected according to case, but the actual name of the city, Nazareth, is not. With respect to the place name, the Greek accent is on the last syllable, Nazareth, while the Latin accent is on the second to last syllable, Nazareth. In the second line, we are given two additional prepositional phrases. In Greek, this is eis tein Judaion, eis Paulin David, and in Latin, this is in Judaiam in civitatem David. Both can be translated as into Judea, into the city of David. The constructions are similar to those we have previously seen. In Greek, the accusative Judaion is derived from the feminine nominative Judaia, and the feminine definite article in the accusative case, tein, precedes the place name. In Latin, the accusative Judaiam is derived from the feminine nominative Judaia. The Latin and Greek words sound the same, but they are spelled differently. This time, the Latin and Greek accents are on the same syllable, that is, the next to last syllable. The name of the city, David, is indeclinable. The Greek accent is on the last syllable, David, while the Latin accent is on the next to last syllable, David. We also see for the first time the use of a relative clause. After eis Paulin David, we have the Greek clause Hatis Kaletai Bethlehem, meaning which is called Bethlehem. The first word, hatis, a relative pronoun, is actually a combination of the feminine definite article he plus the Greek pronoun tis, meaning what. Together they convey the meaning of the relative pronoun which in English. The Latin relative pronoun is the feminine form qui. Both pronouns are feminine because the word for city in each language is feminine. The Greek verb kaletai is the third person singular passive form of the present verb kaleo, meaning I call. The Latin equivalent vocator derives from the present verb voco, also meaning I call. This gives us the English word vocation, which is literally a calling. Note the letter T in the Greek and Latin verb forms, kaletai and vocator, an indicator of the third person singular form. Finally, the Greek and Latin words for Bethlehem are indeclinable. The Greek accent is on the next to last syllable, Bethlehem, while the Latin accent is on the second to last syllable, Bethlehem. At this point, I should say a few words on accentuation. Every word in Greek and Latin is accented on one of the last three syllables. In linguistics, we call the last syllable the ultima, appropriately named because it is like our English word ultimate. The next to last syllable is the penult, which literally means nearly the ultima. It is like the word peninsula in English, which refers to a land that is nearly an island, surrounded by water on only three sides. In Latin, the word for island is insula. The second to last syllable is called the antepenult, or literally the syllable before the one that is nearly the ultima. The prefix ante, spelled A-N-T-E, means before, as in our English word antebellum, meaning before the war, and the Latin phrase antemeridium, meaning before noon. So far, for the place names we have seen, there has been a Greek preference to accent a syllable later in a word as compared with the Latin. Finally, we come to the last line. We see a contrast in constructions for the clause, because he was from the house and family of David. The Greek text, dia ta enai auton, uses the preposition dia, here meaning on account of, plus the neuter definite article ta, plus enai, the infinitive to be, plus the accusative of the subject, auton. Auton is a reflexive pronoun that refers back to the subject of the clause, Joseph. It is masculine singular and in the accusative case. We translate this bulky construction as on account of him being. Unlike the Greek, the Latin does not use a preposition, but a relative clause. In Latin, the text eo quod esset means for this reason that he was something. Here, eo is a neuter singular ablative form of the demonstrative pronoun id, which means this thing. This is the same id that we see in citations in modern English. Here, the use of eo is an example of the ablative of cause, which means that it's providing a reason for something. Quod is a relative pronoun meaning that in the neuter nominative singular form. It functions like the word quae, the feminine equivalent, used earlier in the verse. It is followed by the singular imperfect subjunctive esset, meaning he was. This is an example of the Latin preference for using the subjunctive case in certain clauses. Here, the subjunctive is used because the statement of family origin is not a first-hand statement of the writer of the book, that is, Luke, but rather a second-hand statement of another, say from Joseph or his family. A final prepositional phrase rounds out the verse. For the phrase from the house and family of David, Greek gives us ex oikou kai patrias David. Here, ex oikou means from the house, with ex being a variant spelling of the preposition ek, used before a word beginning with a vowel. Oikou, meaning of a house, is the singular genitive form of the masculine nominative oikos, which we saw in the first verse. The word kai, meaning and, connects us to another singular genitive form, patrias, meaning family. It is derived from the feminine nominative patria. At last, we have the indeclinable name David, which tells us from which house and city Joseph came. Unlike the Greek, the Latin phrase de domo et familia David relies on the ablative case as opposed to the genitive case. For from the house, we have de domo. Domo in the singular ablative case is derived from the nominative domus, an irregular feminine noun. This word gives us the English words domicile and domestic. The word et, meaning and, connects us to familia, another ablative form that derives from the feminine nominative familia with the same spelling. This means family in Latin. It gives us our English words family and familiar. Finally, we have the indeclinable name of the city of David, David in Latin. Again, this identifies the name of the house and family of Joseph. For both languages, the verse leaves us hanging, as it is an incomplete sentence ending in a comma. We shall review the rest of the sentence in the following verse, which is the subject of our next video.